Hey everybody, ShadowRock here. I hope you all have been doing well, or at least barely squeaking by like I am. I want to take this time to share more specifics about my situation to you all, so you understand why I have been unable to take part in the activities on the ShadowRockZX channel. Aside from things like script writing, for one, you already hear it, so yep, I'm gonna have to apologize for the mic quality. I have no choice but to sit here in my car and use my phone for this recording because my usual microphones and, well, heck, most of my equipment and belongings are in storage out of state. All I have with me right now is whatever we could fit in the car on short notice. Also right now, the car is the only place where I can get some true privacy for serious discussions. Like this one. It's gonna be very serious, from the heart, and all that. I'll get to why later on all the things I just said, so bear with me. Still, I believe it is important that I speak to you all with my own voice for this one and not through anyone else. First, let me begin with some good news and a little TLDR of what's going on. The other day, we put out a mega news video about the new Gunvolt rhythm game, and within that same video, TGP came forward to you all, discussing my predicament and putting up for sale a pair of framed Frogbin Perlers and a thank you card by Sapphire Stars 11 on his Ko-Fi store, or coffee store? I think it's coffee. Honestly, I never used it before, but it's pretty cool that you can do that. You can hear more details on the store in that video, or check out the description below for a link to the items. I think it's super duper cool, like, it's very fitting. 100% of all proceeds will go towards helping my wife, Spec, and I with getting us back on our feet financially. TGP and Sapphire are actually nearing the final version of the products as I speak, and they should have finalized pictures up rather soon, because the products are still in the prototyping stage as of the announcement. That's on me though, because the day before the announcement, after trying for days to solve the issue on our own, I finally came forward to the crew that my wife and I were struggling to pay off a hefty bill that was due by the end of the week. More on that later, but when I did come forward to the crew, that is when TGP revealed to me for the very first time that ever since I announced my move in August, and it came to light that I was not in an ideal place to create content at all, he and Sapphire have been planning a store to help me out so I can have a chance to come back sooner. Keep in mind, I never once asked him to do this. Never. And they had kept this project a secret from me up to that point, with plans to announce it when the products were finalized. However, when it came to light that I needed help, like now, it was go time, and they knew that they had to let the frog out of the bin early. Ha! Now guys, I just want to take a moment to hammer home how crazy that is to me, because I don't think anyone ever has put in so much effort before just to assist little old me, some YouTuber that they met through the internet. Like, dang, am I even worthy of having these two incredible people and even better friends in my life? I don't know, man. And let's not forget, Megacoin has been editing the videos both before and after TGP took over the narration part, despite having his own channel to worry about. Neo Eclair volunteered on his own to take over the live stream so the YouTube algorithm doesn't completely kill off this channel during the hiatus, despite the struggles he deals with on a daily basis. And we have all the rest of the crew offering their support, advice, and words of encouragement. This is why I have always considered my crew to be family. I'll be perfectly honest, like, I probably share way too much about my life with these folks because to me, they're like my brother and sister, you know? And that's also because they've always had my back through the best and worst times. And I couldn't be more happy and proud to be part of it. Of course, I can't forget all of you too. Yes, I'm talking to you, the person watching this video right now. Yeah, you, First of all, we wouldn't even be here right now doing this thing if you didn't watch our stuff. Including and especially those of you that are gracious enough to become a channel member or contribute on the streams. I've been fortunate enough to have so many people that care enough to give me just a little time of their day, whether I truly deserve it or not. And I have made wonderful friends because of this community. You guys are truly a blessing, and I do not want to take that for granted. Ever. Which brings me to the good news. Because a number of you have already placed an order on TGP's coffee shop, and between TGP's own personal assistance and your contributions, you have successfully helped my wife and I build the rest of the ladder to climb out of that hole. Granted, we barely made it in time, and we won't have much money left for the next couple of weeks, but the important thing is we were able to pay out those urgent prior commitments and without doing something drastic like taking out a personal loan. Because before everyone helped out, we were prepared to do just that to get this paid off in time. Like I said, it was go time. So believe me, it is a huge load of stress off my shoulders that we didn't have to resort to that in the end. Because of all you, now the recovery phase where my wife and I can slowly build up our funds again and eventually move forward of our lives can finally begin. On behalf of both of us and our 2 cats, which like to turn off my computer a lot, but I still love them. I love you guys too. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for getting us out of this hole. Whether you made a purchase on TGP's coffee store, contributed directly through PayPal, yeah, I see you guys. I see y'all. Spread the word, or simply watch their stuff. I see all you guys. All of you guys are literal rock stars, and don't you forget it. It means the world to us that somewhere there are people that care about what we do. Some of you have even been here for over a decade, or even since the beginning. It's just absolutely nuts to think about. Thank you, everyone. Like I mentioned, our bank accounts are going to be almost wiped clean at this point, so it will still take potentially months for myself to fully make a comeback on the channel. I can still write the Mega News video scripts for TGP to narrate, but in terms of streams and other types of content, I unfortunately am not in a position to do much more due to the limits imposed by my current living situation. To sum it up, for all intents and purposes, we're homeless right now. Like, that's just the reality of it. Thankfully, not literally homeless, since we were able to take shelter of my family. But right now, I do not have a room to call my own. I've just been sleeping on the couch and working from a tiny corner in my grandma's foyer. A room where, even if I had the available funds to invest in a temporary replacement for the microphone that I unfortunately had to leave in storage back in Florida, I won't be able to do much with it without the entire house hearing me, which again is why I sit here in my car, because otherwise I would not get the privacy I need for this kind of thing. If I were to stream right now, today, you're definitely going to get a lot of background noise and somebody interrupting me every so often, and I mean more than usual. That remains one of the biggest hurdles for sure. Not exactly an ideal situation for YouTube content, but hey, look at the bright side. Having a roof over your head and a safe place to sleep at all is always a blessing. And I am glad that we made a decision to come back to Texas here and not try to hold out somewhere else. I think we made the right decision to come back here. And that is the important thing. We are out of danger now. Although I can't help but feel bad about the original point of TGP's store, which was to help us secure a permanent home, so that I can fully return to YouTube. That being the case, for now, I am letting TGP keep his store open for folks who are generous enough to continue helping us out. Other ways to support us directly include PayPal donations, link in the description. My wife, I Am a Speck of Dust, is taking art commissions. I'll put a link down below for her calm sheet as well. Or just spreading the word, that always helps. Those are the only ways to directly help us and ensure we receive that help today. Because while YouTube Super Chats, channel memberships, and all that stuff is great too, we don't see any of that money from YouTube for 2 whole months, which is the amount of time that YouTube takes to process payments. Not to mention, YouTube does take their own chunk out of everything, at least 30 to 45% of the earnings last time I checked. Then the network that I'm partnered with takes a 10% whatever is left over. So we will never receive the full amount from YouTube, like ever. Like that's how it's always going to be. That is why TGP and I have pointed out the more direct ways of supporting. It's not because we're all money greedy kinds of people. The reason why we point it out is that if it's your intention is helping us, it would suck a lot to have almost half of what you pay go into someone else's pocket, someone completely unrelated to the situation. And I imagine you may feel the same way about that. PayPal does take a cut from donations as well, but it's not nearly as bad as how YouTube can be. Or, Twitch for that matter, but thankfully I don't use Twitch, so I don't have to worry about that. Honestly, if I had to make a suggestion to you all, I highly recommend just buying something from TGP's coffee store so you can ensure 100% of the proceeds go towards the cause and you get something special physically in return as a thank you. Because as TGP said in this video, I hate e-begging. It's so embarrassing. I hate asking for help. I really do. And that's why it took me too long to come forward in the first place. Sometimes though, there comes a point when you gotta ask. But if I'm going to ask, I want to give something back to you in return. That's why I personally love TGP's idea. The products that he is selling is based on one of our most favorite channel memes. And it's a way for us to give back to the community in exchange. Now, I was fortunate enough to keep my day job during the move, albeit at reduced hours, though I figure in that case, I may as well put that extra time I get back into YouTube work to help balance things out. At least as much YouTube work as I can manage, since right now that means behind the scenes work like writing scripts for the Mega News Roundup and editing. I'm also assisting the Mega Man Network with an article related to Mega Man X Dive Offline, which could become a future video. It's a work in progress, but things like that. Meanwhile, Spec has been job hunting for a while now as we speak. So eventually we should be able to get our lives back in order under our own power. It's just going to take a lot of time, like we're talking multiple months here. So your contributions really do help to speed things along for us. Especially as the more that this hiatus goes on, there's going to be less videos and less stuff we can really do, or that I can personally do with the channel. And you know how the YouTube algorithm can be? If you're not putting out content like all the time, you're going to lose your placements and like the search results and all that stuff. So overall, it does hurt being on a hiatus for any reason. So like I said, all of your contributions do help. And to those who have already contributed, and those who consider in the future, thank you so much for helping us. No, really, I'm serious. Like, it's actually crazy how much you guys care. What in the world? I still don't understand it. I still don't. Anyways, that was the TLDR of the situation. So, here's the part where I break down what exactly needs to be accomplished going forward. I'll start with the checklist and explain things from there. So from now on, your monetary contributions will be going towards the following things. The first step, paying off the not so urgent outstanding costs from our initial move, because there's still some things to pay off. It's going to take a little bit of time. But once we're all good at that, the next step is renting an apartment once we saved up enough. If we can get our own place to stay, I can have a proper, more private workspace to operate from, and it'll make doing YouTube content infinitely easier. And then the final step, once we do have a home secured, we need to either buy tickets for a flight back to Florida or we'll have to drive there, but you know, that's gas money, and since we are going to get my dad to help with the whole moving process, with getting our stuff from Florida to Texas, we don't want to put too much strain on all of us that are going to go help. So a flight would probably be easier. At least that's the plan. But anyway, however we get to Florida, once we do that, we're going to rent a moving truck to pick up all of our belongings currently in storage, because we just had to drop it all off locally when we moved from Florida to Texas. But now we're going to pick it up in that moving truck and take it from Florida to Texas. That might sound confusing, but yes, we're moving from Florida to Texas. Alright? Cool? Cool. Now when it comes to moving our stuff across state, the military is supposed to reimburse us for a certain percentage of that part of the move, but keep in mind we still have to pay everything up front, and I do mean everything. They only pay us back later, so that's why it's important that we have the funds handy first. A little detail, we never put stuff into a storage unit before. They do charge you a monthly fee every month, so the longer we keep all our stuff in storage there, the more money they're going to be taking from us every month that we wait. Not to mention, we kind of need to make this happen in like 180 days or so that we actually do get paid back from the military. That's the rules. You may be thinking, wow, all that sounds mighty expensive. And yeah, it most certainly will be. That's why TGP's shop will remain open, because at this point, every little bit really does help. If anyone asks though, these are the steps that will have to take place for me to return to YouTube in every aspect, from taking back the host seat and videos, to hosting and participating in live streams, at the full capacity and quality that you have come to expect from the channel. Now, since you guys have been helping us already, it's only fair I be transparent about how we got to this point in the first place. I won't be going into too many personal details for the sake of not doxing ourselves too much to strangers, but here goes. This part is public knowledge already, but Spec served in the Air Force for about 2 years or so, and if anyone remembers, I moved in to live with her on base a year ago. I used the past tense because Spec recently had to be medically discharged from the service. I won't go into the reasonings and all that, because that is for her to talk about if she wants to. I will say though, throughout this whole experience, the military didn't exactly do the best of jobs giving us a heads up on things. It started with the decision for Spec to separate. For a couple of months we went from, "You're separating for sure," to, actually it's still up in the air, back to, "Oh yeah, we're gonna let you go." And you know that when these things are up in the air, it's really hard to formulate a concrete plan of what to do next. By the time we knew the separation was happening, we were told it could be anywhere from August to November that we actually had to move out. Okay, Spec wants to go to college in Florida, so I tell my job what is going on, and in early August, I get leave to spend a week in her hometown to do some apartment hunting. You guys probably already know that the housing market is crazy right now. It's too dang expensive. So we quickly determined that we need to save up quite a bit more before we can rent somewhere. Hopefully we can use these next few months to do just that. Spoilers! We didn't even get a chance. Nope, not at all. So fast forward to 1 week after we do this apartment hunting trip. It is a Saturday, and keep in mind, I am working the whole weekend and don't get off until Tuesday and Wednesday. On Saturday, I wake up to Spec telling me she finally got her orders. Okay, where are the orders? Oh, nothing. We just have to be gone by this Friday. Huh? Well, that's sooner than we thought. So that gives us 6 days to pack up the rest of the house, move it to storage nearby, because we ain't got time nor money for other options, and clean up and prepare the house for inspection. All of that while I'm working 9-hour days? Oh yeah, let's do this. That's easy. It wasn't so easy. Also, it was about this time that we got some more bad news. You see, the military has some amazing benefits. One of them is called BAH. Essentially, military people get an allowance each month so they can, for the most part, get free housing. For our whole time there, that was the case, until of course the very last month that we lived there. You see, because we were kicked out right before the end of the month, they weren't going to pull her BAH. That means, after all that was said and done, we were suddenly responsible to pay a little over $2,000 upon moving out. Like, if we had just stayed one more week, we would have only had to pay for 1 day's worth. That is how close they cut us off. Now, I know why they did it, but I'm not going to say anything and just move on. Suffice to say, we were not prepared physically nor financially for any of this. Call it a lack of planning and forward thinking because, let's be honest, it was. Straight up, that's something we're going to need to work on in the future. There's no sugarcoating it, like, we screwed up big time, and it shows. But I will say, the short notice certainly didn't help things either. At that point, there was no way we could get an apartment right now. Oh heck no. So we had no choice but to change course, just staying with my folks in Texas until we get back on our feet again. So began one of the most stressful and scary weeks of my life. Lots of packing in my free time, what little I had. Many trips to the storage unit, at least until it was decided to rent a U-Haul truck to cut down on the trips. Lots and lots of cleaning, and even though we did have my wife's co-workers helping us out here and there with the heavy items, from Wednesday to Friday, we were just working on everything non-stop. Literal sleepless days. Like, you could tell I was running on fumes, and she was too, because there were times that I nearly passed out while driving the moving truck we rented for use in town. Remember, always get a good night's sleep before driving. Do not ever try what I did. I'll be honest, we barely made it. Like, we were making the final touches on the house and moving the last things out of the house literally an hour before inspection time. I don't recommend it. It's not fun. We could not have cut it any closer. At times, I didn't think we were going to make it. Meanwhile, during all this, I was trying to finalize my job transfer too. Like, there was a point that I was worried I would have to quit instead due to the short notice. So I ended up taking whatever offer I could because at the end of the day, having a stable job is a lot better than none at all. Now, here is a story I have been meaning to share in full after I mentioned it on social media around the time period of the move. An event that definitely slowed us down and made the tight schedule even tighter was the fact that the first U-Haul truck that we rented nearly went up in flames. Oh yeah, oh no, I am not kidding. Alright, so since this was a military move, we had to take the truck to a CAT scale station to weigh the truck, both empty and full. That way, the military can calculate how much stuff we have and how much to reimburse us. We did our first scale while the truck is empty, then begin the drive to the storage unit. The plan was to load up everything we already have and put in storage, then everything else from the house to do our second weigh. However, as we approached town, we began noticing something was not right. Suddenly, it was getting really hot in the truck, like the AC was blowing hot air. I'm hearing the sound like fire crackling in the engine, and to make things even scarier, the electronic systems of the truck started failing. I could not accelerate without stepping on the gas all the way, and same thing for the brakes. I could not brake unless I put all my weight on it. I was pretty dang close to hitting the car in front of me when I realized the brakes were failing, and I had to quickly change lanes to avoid collision. That was the point where I told my wife, "Oh God, I'm scared." So in the nick of time, we turned into the nearest U-Haul drop-off location and literally ran out of the vehicle. We were legit scared that the truck was going to blow. Thankfully it didn't, but man, that was a close call. I have a small video I can show here as well, where you can see the smoke coming out from under the hood. Things were definitely getting spicy in there. Thankfully we made it out safely without anything exploding, but now we were stranded at this U-Haul office in the middle of nowhere that was closed for the day, so nobody locally could help us aside from my wife's co-workers picking us up, which did take place. Of course, we contact the emergency helpline and eventually get told that they can't send a technician out for 3 whole hours. You kidding me? Waiting 3 hours? During all this? Oh, great. Wonderful. So instead, we talked to a technician over the phone and they have us pop the hood that's still pretty dang hot, and we snapped some pictures. So after a bit, it's determined that the belt around the motor had fallen off, and that motor belt is responsible for keeping practically everything working, from the electronic systems to the AC to keep things cool. So yeah, the truck caught on fire because the engine had no way to cool itself while running anymore. After that diagnosis, it's determined that they will set us up with a replacement truck since we were falling even further behind schedule, and I told them I need a truck tonight. Real quick, I'm just going to say, while it sucks that this happened, it's kind of a blessing that it happened before we loaded the truck up with all of our stuff, because if we had done that, oh boy, that would have been an awkward situation. So at least the truck was empty when it caught fire and we didn't lose any of our stuff or anything like that. But anyway, we got an address for a different U-Haul location to pick up the truck, the replacement one. And the reason we had to go to a different location is because the location that we had arrived at only had one truck and that one was broken. Go figure. Now they have 2 broken trucks, I guess. Anyways, after a ride home to pick up our car, we head on over to pick up the replacement truck. Except, wait a minute. Where's the truck? Nothing here matches the numbers we were given, and how do we get the key? Thus begins a wild goose chase. Oh boy, another one. Where I spend half an hour on the phone getting transferred through 2 whole customer service departments and 3 or 4 total representatives before they get me in touch with the rep that set up the replacement originally. Oh wait, correction, that was 3 whole customer service departments, because I called this one guy and he's like, oh, you need to call this number, let me give it to you. And then I called that number and they're like, oh yeah, well, let me get my manager to help and blah blah blah. Okay, now you gotta call this number because they're the ones responsible for it. Oh, man, that was a long half an hour. But yeah, we got in contact with the original person that set up the replacement, and it turns out the truck they said that was there was in fact not there at all. So now we have to go to another location and pray that the truck is actually there this time. Thankfully it was there, though they still didn't tell me how to retrieve the key until I asked on the phone. Well, anyways, finally, after wasting the entire night on this frightening and mildly annoying setback, we could get back to actually doing something productive towards the move-out process. Time was of the essence though, so because of that, I had to convince my work to let my last day be that Thursday, and to let me go home early so I can get my wife the help she needs to get things done, because it really was just the 2 of us doing 90% of the work. Thankfully my work was very understanding about the whole situation, so I do appreciate them for that. In the end, we just barely made the move out in time without too many extra charges beyond the rent itself. So thank goodness it's finally over. Spec had her out processing as scheduled, and we stayed the night at a hotel where I finalized the details of my job transfer over the phone before making the day-long drive to Texas. Because, God, we needed that rest after staying awake 2 or 3 days straight through. Never mind the other stresses involved. Also, the reason I was not able to bring crucial equipment like my microphone with me back is because, one, our car is not big enough to fit our 2 cats comfortably, all the stuff we need for 2 cats, and all of our stuff at the same time. So some sacrifices did have to be made and left in storage for now. Besides, we were in such a big rush that after the whirlwind of filling up the storage unit was over, I realized that the bigger box of to keep items I had made, the one that happened to have my mic in it, must have ended up in the back behind the mountain of everything else because I could not even see it. So, well, yeah, screw that. Let's just go. Anyways, you know the rest. We made it to the fam, started staying with them, and I am currently in my 3rd week at the new job location. But as you might know, getting things rolling with new jobs takes a while at first. Personally, I had issues with getting my schedule written in for the 2nd week and lost half of my usual hours in the process. It is what it is, but we still had all this stuff to pay, so that's where the announcement and all of your assistance came in. Well, yeah, that's it though. That's the summarized story of our situation, how we got here, and what your money is actually going towards. Since you all are helping with your hard-earned cash, I thought it was only right that I be more transparent about where it is going. Again, thank you all so much for all that you've done already and going forward. Man, you guys are incredible, and it means the world to us. I don't know when I'll get to speak to you all like this again. One would hope before the end of the year, but it's too early to know for sure. We are just going to take the time now to get back on our feet and go from there. In the meantime, I will keep writing stuff for videos behind the scenes so that the rest of the crew can deliver some content. And of course, you can still find me at all the usual social channels and the Discord server. Sincerely, thank you all again for everything that you guys are doing. I hope that one day when I am be able to come back in the same capacity as before, that I can deliver. I can bring you guys something that you will enjoy to make up for this hiatus and everything. Of course, thank you all to my dear friends, TGP, Sapphire, Quinn, Neo, and everyone back at the ShadowRockZX crew for all you're doing. It's actually pretty nuts that you guys care that much to really help me out. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, till the next time, everybody. Next time you and I meet. Until then, rock on, take care of yourselves, and have a great time zone.